After all had been said and done, Rigathi Gachagua finally came back to Kenya. And for those who followed the events live as they unfolded, it has been a very tough, a very hard day for Rigathi Gachagua. The kind of a welcome he did receive was very traumatizing. Have a look at this before we proceed. That's the kind of a welcome Rigathi received. You are seeing Rigathi is being pushed left, right, center. I just don't know what was going through Rigathi Gachagua's mind when all that was happening. And you never know. Maybe he was even pickpocketed. It was a very disorganized welcome. I've seen Rigathi Gachagua's allies and supporters saying they were doing that to stop the police from arresting him. I don't think that's true. It sounds to me as a very big lie. If the police wanted Rigathi Gachagua, they could have arrested him anyway. Yes, if they wanted to arrest him, they could have arrested him anyway. That happened because Rigathi Gachagua's team was disorganized. They never put in place security controls in place. And that happened because maybe they are still naive in organizing such occasions and events. They should borrow some leaves from Raila Odinga on how it is done. But even if they did it to stop the police from arresting Rigathi Gachagua, they ought not to have shared it out to the public. I'm very sure that Rigathi Gachagua's supporters and allies were the first people who shared out that clip. That clip clearly backfired. It exposed the kind of naivety in Rigathi Gachagua's team. And not only naivety, but the kind of confusion in Rigathi Gachagua's team. They still don't know how these things are done. Besides that, there was also a very interesting incident that happened, something that also caused some worry among Rigathi Gachagua's supporters and allies. As Rigathi was leaving JKIA along Mombasa Road, there was a surveillance chopper that kept hovering over Rigathi Gachagua's convoy. And that caused some tension and some worry among Rigathi Gachagua's allies and even supporters on the ground. One such person whose attention was drawn to that was Honorable Kate Waruguru. Waruguru, taking to her social media accounts, even shared out that Kasongo's chopper hovering above Gachagua's convoy one term. For Kate Waruguru to share out that through her social media accounts just shows that that's something that caused them some tension. I want us to dig deep into this for Kenyans to understand what was happening here and why I strongly believe the opposition has to up its game in order to beat Ruto. If they don't up their games, William Ruto will have them for breakfast in the event of an election being conducted. If you're watching us but you have not yet subscribed, subscribe, give the video a like. Let's proceed. If you look at William Ruto's team, they studied Rigathi Gachagua's group very well, and they just applied some little tricks, and the little tricks did work, stopping Rigathi Gachagua from proceeding to Kamkunji. Rigathi and his team had planned that Rigathi Gachagua, upon leaving JKIA, they were to make some processions across the CBD, then to Kamkunji. That never happened. And in the first stages, or rather as they were leaving JKIA, for those who are keenly following what was happening online, Rigathi Gachagua's bloggers had started boasting that actually their king was back, and some were even asking, where is Murkomen now? Murkomen promised to arrest Rigathi upon him landing. Where is he? Some of Rigathi Gachagua's bloggers were boasting online. Little did they know that William Ruto's team had hatched a plan to thwart Rigathi Gachagua's procession. It never took long. Upon them leaving JKIA, they were stormed. Some goons stormed them, started pelting them with stones. And it's also important for Kenyans to understand that both sides had goons. Rigathi Gachagua's team had goons, and then these ones who were also stoning them, we can also describe them as goons because we know our constitution allows each and every person the right to assemble. So to start pelting others with stones, we can only describe you as a goon. And it's highly possible they might have been the government's goons. If you look at the Gen Z's protests, during the Gen Z protests, we have also been told of government's goons. But Gen Zs have always overpowered the government's goons because of Gen Z numbers. Yes, goons cannot always win against the people because they are always a minority in terms of numbers. But today's goons did overpower Rigathi Gachagua's team simply because Rigathi Gachagua had no numbers. And that's very telling that Rigathi Gachagua's welcome was a clear flop. Kenyans did avoid it. Kenyans gave it a wide berth. And that's why Rigathi Gachagua and his team were exposed. And even the goons did overpower them. Upon being stopped along Mombasa Road, Rigathi Gachagua did abandon the entire procession, leaving his allies, the likes of Malala and some other leaders, to make some address along Mombasa Road. Rigathi disappeared. So it's also important for Kenyans to understand that Rigathi Gachagua talks very firmly and very bravely, but he might not be as brave as he always portrays himself. Compare Rigathi Gachagua to Raila Odinga. And I like using Raila Odinga because Raila Odinga has been the longest serving opposition leader in Kenya. No other opposition leader in Kenya has served in the opposition longer than Raila Odinga. And Raila Odinga has faced almost every government. He faced Moi, he faced Kibaki, he faced Uhuru, and he also faced Ruto. And in all this, Raila Odinga's convoy could not be stopped. Anytime Raila Odinga decided maybe to hold a political rally, the government or goons could not stop Raila Odinga because he had the numbers. But for Rigathi, he was easily stopped. The chopper that was hovering over Rigathi's convoy, that was also another trick or a clever strategy by Ruto's team, because I'm supposing that the chopper was from the government side. That was just a little trick to cause fear and panic in Rigathi Gachagua's team. And the fear actually did work. because we saw Rigathi abandoning the procession. So Ruto understands Rigathi very well. He knows Rigathi normally talks big, but inwardly he might be a coward. As I conclude, it's also good I remind Kenyans that today's arrival of Rigathi Gachagua was a very big flop. It failed miserably. All objectives that Rigathi Gachagua and his DCP party had all crumbled, courtesy to William Ruto's well laid out strategy on how to thwart Rigathi's forays. And now look at it this way. In the event Rigathi Gachagua and his team could have held successful procession and a successful rally at Kamkunji grounds, they could be all over boasting on how they have numbers. Ruto knew that, so they had to be stopped before they even reached the CBD or Kamkunji. And it worked. Rigathi's soft underbelly has been exposed. He's numberless, tactless, and also a coward. Let me stop it there, ladies and gentlemen. If you are watching us outside Kenya, drop a comment, let us know from which part of the globe you are watching us from. If possible, subscribe, give the video a like. Thank you. God bless you. God bless Kenya.